What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the 3-game slate for DraftKings for Call of Duty League fantasy gameplay. If you're new to the channel or if you just discovered me, I share a lot of fantasy different aspects and salary overviews for the DraftKings platform right now. I do plan on expanding in the future to other esports as well as other platforms like Prize Picks, as well as esports like Halo, Valorant in the future. So if you like the content, if you like fantasy esports, stick around, and I'm going to go over today's betting odd lines and my favorite picks in DraftKings. So for the first game, we have the Paris Legion against the Minnesota ROKKR. I'm going to go over the Paris Legion's last couple of games. They've been actually pretty bad. They've really only beat one team, which is Seattle, miraculously 3-2 a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, they've been losing every single one of their matchups. They just made a new roster change with Gravity here and Jimbo. They dropped a couple of their players. So this team is in constant purgatory, where they're like trying to get to know each other. They're trying to get to learn how to play with each other because they're always changing players and they're just never good. They've been known to be the worst team in the Call of Duty League. So they got 3-0'd last match against the Gorillas in a sweep, and previously that they lost to Boston 1-3. So none of these players in this team really attract me. I'm really not attracted to any of them. And if we could see here, Temp, John, Gravity, and Jimbo are obviously going to be the lowest priced players on the whole slate for a reason. Minnesota is favored to win in outstanding fashion here. I believe that the line here is at a -1,000, which we rarely ever see unless it's phase. Line is at -1,000 and Paris Legion is at a +550. I do personally believe Minnesota ROKKR is going to win this match, so I feel like, I'm not really attracted to any of these players. Jimbo, Gravity, I'm not too really, sure how they play. I've really only seen them play once this matchup whenever they were playing the LA Gorillas. Other than that, I don't know how they play. They got smoked by the LA Gorillas, as we can see here. They got smoked by the LA Gorillas, as we can see here. 250 on the hard point, 6-3 on the S&D, and 3-2 on the control. So Los Angeles Gorillas being a team where they were struggling hard right now too. Paris Legion remains being the worst team in the CDL as of now. So with that being said, I'm not targeting any of these players in my lineups. You could maybe go with somebody like Temp at 8,400 if Paris Legion manages to somehow win this matchup. Paris Legion's Temp is gonna 100% be involved in that, and his price is going to, or his points, fantasy points, are going to reflect that. With that being said, I do feel like Standy, Priesta, Attach, and Major Maniac are all in good positions. Standy being the most expensive at 9,800. I feel like, he's obviously going to go off. Whether or not he's going to pay off his salary, I don't know about that, but I know he's going to go off maybe 100 plus fantasy points. It's all really up to you if you want to pay that salary at 9,800. Totally up to you. You can go contrarian and pick up just Major Maniac and Attach as well, with two players that are relatively lower. Major Maniac at 7,200. If this team has a potential of a 3-0, Major Maniac is going to be a really good play to have in your lineup. It's probably going to be a one of those players that not a lot of people have. Attach as well, 8,400. Priest at 8,800 as well. They're both in the same boat, pretty close to each other. Priest hasn't been doing too great. Not terrible, but not amazing either. So he's right in the middle. Attach as well, same boat, really almost the same caliber player. But any of these four players are going to be a really good pick for your lineups. So going on to the next match, I'm going to be discussing the second match, which is the Florida Mutineers against the New York SUBLINERS. So for the second matchup, we have the New York SUBLINERS against the Florida Mutineers. This is going to be a very good matchup, I believe. Even though New York Subliners are, in a 3-game losing spree, I feel like New York still has it in them to beat one of these teams. And I do think it's totally possible that they could beat Florida. They just got to get together and, overcome, all the problems they've been having. They took Neptune out a couple weeks after the start of the season. They replaced him with a royalty, and now they're replacing him back in the lineup. I think he played the last series with them too. So Florida Mutineers are at a minus 350 on the odds. Subliners are at a plus 250. The under 4.5 is at minus 310. I do believe this is going to go to a 3-2 matchup. I do feel like New York can win this, but Hydra and Neptune are going to have to step up if that's going to happen. Therefore, I do believe that the best picks here for New York are Hydra at 8,200 and Neptune at 7,000. I do feel like both of those prices are really nice for them. Hydra, you don't ever see him at 8,200, and he's always producing a lot for the team. He's pretty much their workhorse, their slayer, their main SMG, and Neptune, as well. They got to get a lot of kills. They have to go toe-to-toe with Awakening and Skies on the other team, and they have to really, put the pedal to the metal if they want to win this matchup. I do think those are the two best. Neptune at 7,000 flat. I believe he could be a little cheaper, but maybe Neptune pulls out, a decent performance here. And I've been looking at the matches that NYSL has been losing, and they haven't been losing to terrible teams. They've been losing to Atlanta, LA Thieves, London Royal Ravens, who are all really good teams, right? And just because they're losing doesn't mean they're terrible. It just means they're not at their level. And I feel like they are more in the level of, Gorillas, Mutineers, those teams, right? Boston, which was the last team they beat. I do feel like they have a chance here, and I don't think that it should be this low, of odds for them. So those are my two favorite picks for New York Subliners. Let's talk about the Florida Mutineers and who I like on their team. So on the Florida Mutineers side, we had them go absolutely off against the Gorillas. They beat them 3-0. It was pretty close for the first 2 games, and then they just managed to take the last game in a 3-1 in the control in Tuscan. Very unfortunate for LA Gorillas, 250 to 240, 6-5. You see how close that was, and then 3-1. So I do feel like they're toe-to-toe with the LA Gorillas, but, the team just pulled through. Awakening, Vivid having great games. I do believe Vivid posted a nice 132 fantasy points last match, so he did really good. Vivid is starting to look like, his previous self from previous COD titles, as well as Awakening. At 7,600, I think Vivid is a solid play, solid play. I think you really can't go wrong with him. If they win, he is going to be a key piece in your lineup. Awakening at 8,600, I feel is, they dropped his price a little bit. He got 138 fantasy points last match, 70 kills, 58 deaths. I don't know who got more kills, Vivid or him last series. Almost the same, 75 kills, 68 deaths on Vivid's side. So, they're doing pretty good. Sky's at 9,600. I think he's a little bit too expensive. As you can see here, he got 59 kills, 49 deaths. He really benefited off that 30-point bonus, 30 or 40-point bonus, I believe it is, for the 3-0 sweep. If he wouldn't have got that bonus, his salary or his fantasy points wouldn't have been looking too good for his price, right? But honestly, this is a good team. Dat Patty at 8,200, 101 fantasy points. He also benefited from that bonus. I do think that Vivid and Awakening are the best plays here on the Florida side. Those are who I would pick. If I had to predict this matchup, I do think just because New York has been doing, a little not too good recently, I do feel like Florida Mutineers can take this 3-2, but honestly, for me, I feel like any of these two teams can take a 3-2. I just don't think it's going to be a 3-0. You know, New York has to step up and at least win a couple of matches against this specific team if they want to stay, or you know, they want to get any, you know, type of so yeah, 3-2 is my prediction. Either way, I don't know who's gonna take it. And for the last matchup, we are going to be having OPTIC Texas against the LA Thieves. And I want to go over those prize picks, and I'm really excited to watch that matchup too. So for the last matchup of the day, we have a really good banger of a match here. LA Thieves against OPTIC Texas. LA Thieves are just coming off of a 3-0 sweep. They got swept by the London Royal Ravens in astounding fashion. Nobody predicted that. Most people had LA Thieves winning this series. They got stomped in the hard point, 250 to 188 in Gavutu, 6-4 in the Berlin S&D, and they took London Royal Ravens took the control 3-2. So LA Thieves, you know, losing like they hadn't lost previously. I don't think LA Thieves have ever gotten sweep before. I think this was their first sweep. As we can see here, actually, I do believe it is their first sweep. And if we can see here, you know, the last couple of games, London, they lost 0-3. They lost to Atlanta 2-3 in the Major 1 tournament. They beat Minnesota, they beat New York. They lost to Toronto, you know, so they're, for the last 5, they're 3-2, two losses, 2 victories, 3 losses, should I say. You know, this team is really good. But going up against OPTIC, I think OPTIC has the upper hand here. OPTIC coming off of a, you know, super victory against the Atlanta FaZe in the Major 1 tournament to win the Major. I do think OPTIC has the upper hand, and you know, my favorite team. Obviously, I'm going to be biased towards them, but I feel you could still find some value here in this team. You know, nothing's for sure. OPTIC Texas is minus 550, so they're a heavy favorite here in this position. LA Thieves are at plus 350. I don't think LA Thieves are gonna win, but I do think that there's a couple of players here that are, you know, in good positions. Draws at 6,800. You know, maybe didn't have the hottest performance his last game, 49 fantasy points per game. But Draws is that one player who I've seen him have a high ceiling. So he is one of those players who has the capability to get 100 plus fantasy point games in a loss. So Draws at 6,800 might not be a bad bet for the LA Thieves side. Kenny at 8,000. You know, same. He's a really good player. I think that at 8,000 or at less than that, I can find a little bit different players in different winning positions that I rather put here than Kenny, because like at the end of the day, like I said, I do think they're gonna lose. And 8,000 for a losing player on a losing team, I don't know if that would, you know, be good for me or good enough for me. Envoy at 8,800. I feel he's really expensive, even though he got 96 points in a sweep 3-0. He got 61 kills and 59 deaths. He almost went neutral. He could have almost went negative. I mean, I do feel like 8,800 is a little bit too expensive for him whenever his team is not favored to win, or is that a heavy underdog, shall I say. With that being said, you know, let's look at OPTIC Chicago and let's see where they stand on the prices. So as we can see here, OPTIC took the Major 1, the first Major of Vanguard. As you can see here, these boys were excited. You know, it was a really good match to watch. OPTIC Texas really, you know, changed the way they started the season. They started off, you know, losing 3 series, and then ever since then, since their loss to Minnesota, they have not dropped a match ever since. They're on a, I want to count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a 7-match winning spree, right? So now, I look at this and I say every team has to lose eventually, even if it's my favorite team. So if there is any team that can beat OPTIC, I do think it can be Thieves, right? I do think OPTIC is going to win, but LA Thieves have very much every single chance of, you know, beating this team. They have the talent to do it, so I'm not discarding LA Thieves in the least, right? That being said, I do feel like the only player in this team that is adequately priced, or the couple that are adequately priced, probably Scump and Illy. And I know you might think, well, what the hell is Shotzi? You know, he's a beast. Well, if you look at Shotzi, he's almost the I think if he's not the most expensive player in the slate, he might be the second. But he put 78 fantasy points the last matchup. You know, previous to that, I don't know what he put, but I feel like he's too expensive going against a team who, you know, can beat OPTIC. They can beat OPTIC, right? So I feel like Shotzi should be a little bit cheaper. You know, that's why I don't want to really gravitate towards him unless maybe they 3-0 the Thieves. Who knows? Then maybe yes, his price pays off. But other than that, Shotzi and Dashi, I feel, you know, being the best team in the game right now, obviously they're gonna have players that are the most expensive in the slate. Like Dashi as well, he put 132 fantasy points the last series. So, you know, they both did really good. I just don't know if they can carry that over to this match. I still do think they're gonna win, but I don't know if for those price tags they're going to meet their you know, minimum return value on fantasy points. You know, so with that being said, I feel like Illy 7,400 is my favorite pick here for the OPTIC Texas. You can't go wrong with any of these guys, really. But if I had to pick a couple of picks that are my favorite for either team, I would say Illy, I would say Draza, and, you know, maybe Octane. You know, at 7,400, Octane, he probably has some upside there. 83 fantasy points his last matchup, which was a sweep. Not bad for a sweep, right? He got 51 kills, 51 deaths. He went super neutral. But, you know, like I said, this matchup, if it's a 3-2 or a 3-1, I feel like it could be either team that wins this, you know. So these lines should be a little bit closer to each other. I am going to say a 3-2 victory from OPTIC Texas to keep the winning streak going. But those are my thoughts on this specific matchup. You let me know what you think in the comments. You know, I'm going to start going more in depth into these videos in the future. I know I don't pull out every statistic like the team salaries, and I'm going to start doing those more often. So, you know, if you like the content, if you like esports betting, if you like Call of Duty, if you like Halo, follow the channel. I'm going to be uploading a lot more, you know, a lot more consistently. And yeah, feel free to comment, subscribe, like, follow on Twitter for updates weekly. I retweet a lot of esports content across the scene, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.